G'day Maths Legends, it's time to take a bite out of rounding. So in this lesson we're going to be learning to rounding to 10, to 100 and to 1,000. Alright, good luck with your sums. Rah! Alright Maths Legends, let's have a look at rounding to the nearest 10. Okay, you can see these questions down here. We've got 43, so 43 is our number. And you can see that we've got 43 written just here, okay? So we know that 43 is here, okay? So when we're rounding to the nearest 10, we've got a choice. Are we going to be rounding to 40 or are we going to be rounding to 50? And in this instance, we can see quite clearly that 43 is closer to 40, okay? We're only a few steps away. We're quite far away from 50. So we know that the answer to this one is 40. All right, now let's look at the next one, please. The same one over here. We've got 76. So it's either going to be 70 or it's going to be 80. So straight away, if I have a look at that, I know that 76 is going to be, 76 is going to fit just here. Okay, so 76, I'm just moved over a bit there, but 76 is going to be here. So 76 is just there. I can see that that is on this side. Okay, so straight away, I know that I'm going to be closer to 80. All right, let's look at the next one for me. Okay, let's have a look at this one. We're at 28 now. Okay, so we know that at 28, you can either be 20 or you're going to be 30. Okay, so straight away, again, I move over and I say, well, at 28, we're going to be 25, 26, 27, and we're going to be just here at 28. Okay, so 28 is just here. And of course, we're closer to that 30. So again, we're going to be rounding up to 30. Okay, let's have a look at the next one, please. So again, same thing now. I'm 59. So when you're looking at 59, you're going to go, well, am I closer to 50 or am I closer to 60? So looking at there again, I know that 59 is just here. Okay, and I know that basically my answer to this question is, of course, going to be rounding to 60. Okay. Now we look at this too with hundreds too. Like let's imagine though that this is 810. Okay, and we would have to say that we're going to round to the closest, so it's either 800, 850, and 900. Okay, so let's just imagine we're looking at 810. All right, so very quickly, we're going to look at our sums. We're going to say, well, are we going to be closer to 800 or we're going to be closer to 900? Straight away, I map out where my number's going to be, and I can see that my number is actually going to be over here, 810. So 810 sits here. So 810 sits there. I can see that I'm actually quite close to 800. Okay, so the answer to that one is 800. Looking at the next one, we've got 34. So over here, we've got 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. 34 sits there. Now, we know that we're going to be rounding to the nearest 10. We know that the nearest 10 for this one is going to be 30. Probably the biggest thing that I need you guys to consider when you're looking at all these numbers is that when we're looking at these numbers, we need to make sure that, we need to make sure that if we're looking at a number that is in basically 5. So if I'm looking over here, I've got 810. Now let's imagine that I wasn't looking at that number there. Let's imagine that I was looking at, instead of 28, I decided that, no, I want to be looking at another number. I'm actually going to be looking at 25. So the number I'm going to be looking at is actually 25. I'm going to write that here. So 25 is just here. Okay. I'm going to undo what I've done so far, which is to do these numbers here. Okay. Rub all these out, rub him out. I can look at this number here that's 25. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and get my pen. Now, if it's 25, that means that I'm going to land with my number just here. So I'm going to look at 25, so I'm going to land right here. So when you're looking at a 5, when it's a 5, it's right in the middle. We always round up on a 5. So even though that says 25 there, I'm actually going to say that I'm going to round this to the nearest 10, which is 30. All right, moving on to the next one. Good luck with your sums. All right, Maths Legends. So we're going to be looking at a couple of tips here on how we're going to be rounding to, how we're going to round our numbers. So a couple of tips before we start is that first off, when we start, we always round up when we're at halfway. So if we've got a number that is 16, okay, this 16 is actually closer to 20 than it is 10, all right? So 16 is closer to 20, so that means we're going to round up to 20, all right? If we had 14 and we had 20 and we had 10, we are actually closer to 14, so we round down. Now the big question always comes, what happens when we go right in the middle and we have 15, and would we round to 20 or would we round to 10? Well, when we're in the middle, we're halfway through, we actually round up. So we'll round up to 20. So when we're rounding at 15, we're rounding the nearest 10. At 5, at 15, we'll always round up to 20. All right, it's super important that we remember that one. All right, let's have a look at some of these sums. Okay, so roll that out. So what we're going to do here is we're going to look at a couple of these numbers here. So let's have a look at these numbers here. So we've got Beijing and we've got China. Okay, so our flight distance from Sydney, this is 8,673 kilometres. So we're going to round that number. We're going to round that to the nearest 1,000, okay? We're going to round that to the nearest 1,000. So when we round that to the nearest 1,000, we are going to be rounding that, 8,600. We are rounding to the nearest 1,000. We're rounding up. Because there's a 6 there, now that 6 tells me that we're closer to 9,000. So we're going to put 9,000. So we look at that second digit. Okay, well, the second number in the place value there, okay? So again, we're going to round to the nearest 1,000. We are almost exactly at 11,000 here. So we round to the nearest 1,000, which is 11,000. So for the next one, we go to London. So if we're up to London and we're flying from Sydney, it's going to be 17,005 kilometres. So we know straight away the nearest 1,000 kilometres for that is 17,000, okay? 17,000. Let's look at the next one, please. We're going to be looking at rounding to our nearest. I'll just make that bigger for us. So we're going to be rounding to LA. Okay, so we're off to LA, and we're going to round this to our nearest thousands. So we're looking at 12,065. Well, our closest 1,000 is 12,000. Okay. Then again, we're moving to Moscow, so we're going to Russia. We're looking 14,489. So we're looking at these numbers here, okay? All right. So what is the closest we're to? Well, we're actually at 14,000. We're close to 14,000, all right? Very close, very, very close. If this was 5, okay, then we'd be rounding up to 15,000. But because that's a 14,489, we're rounding to the nearest 1,000, which is 14,000. Let's look at the next one, the nearest 1,000. Are we closer to 10,000 or are we closer to 11,000? Well, we're actually closer to 10,000, all right? On the next one, this one here, are we closer to 15,000 or are we closer to 16,000? Well, we're almost at 16,000. We're only 3 off, okay? So we are closer to 16,000. So the answer to that's 16,000. Over here, we've got 16,000. Are we closer to 16,000 off to Paris, France, or are we closer to 17,000? Well, you can see there, we're only 9 away, or 9 kilometres away from being to 17,000. So we're 17,000. And lucky last, we're off to Brazil. No, it's not. We've still got Japan to go. Sorry. Brazil. So we're looking at 13,509. So we're very close to that midway point. Okay, but we're going to be rounding up on that one. So we're actually going to go to 14,000. All right. You can see we're only just sitting 9 above that. So even if we were sitting, and sometimes it does help to write the numbers on either side. But even if that, let's say that became a 0 and then we were at 13,500, we would still be rounding up to 14,000 because in that middle, we always round up. Okay, final, last one. We're off to Japan, Tokyo. Tokyo! It's a great place. All right, we're going to look at closest 1,000. So we're looking at that second digit, okay? Are we closer to 8,000 or are we closer to 7,000? Well, that second digit is 7,826. 800, so almost at 8,000. So we're going to we're going to round to 8,000. Okay. All right. I hope that makes sense, guys. Good luck with your sums. All right, legends, it's your turn now. Now, you can see from the bolded numbers, so if we go through and we look at those bolded numbers, you can see that we've done all the work for you. We've actually rounded that for you. So we've rounded to 400, we've rounded 3,500, we've rounded 2,000, 8,000, and 600. So what we're going to do here, guys, is what we need from you is we're going to get you to which number did we round? What's the closest to 400 here? So which number is closest to the bold number? So let's look at the first one. The first one is 404, 440, or 414. All right. Hopefully, in your mind, you're saying that it's 404. Okay, let's go B, 3,500. What's closest to 3,500? Well, I've got 3,479, 3,450, or 3,490. So straight away, I definitely know it's not going to be that one, okay? Between these two, I'm only 10 here away from 3,500. So it most certainly is that one. Let's look at this one, 600. Which one am I closest? So 580, I'm 20 away. 650, I'm 50 over. And 550, I'm 50 away. So this one, I'm only 20 away. Only 20 away. So it has to be this one here, okay? D, we've got 8,000. Which one's sitting closest to 8,000? Well, it's 7,100. I'm 900 away. 7,900. I'm only 100 away. And 8,200. I'm 200 over. So it's 7,900. E, 2,000. So at 2,500, I'm 500 away. At 1,500, I'm 500 away again. And then I've got 2,100, I'm only 100 away, okay? So that's almost working backwards to make sure that you guys can round those numbers. All right, I hope that made sense. Feel free to come back, ask your teacher if you've got any questions, and good luck. Okay, guys, the final one. Now we're going to be rounding to these numbers here just to get you guys on. So I'm going to enlarge this and make this nice and big for us. And then I'm going to start writing up. So let's look at what we're looking at here. So we're first off looking at we're trying to round to the nearest 100 at the top there. So we've got a choice here. We can either round to 300, okay, or we're going to round to 200. You can see straight away we're 264. We are 64 over 200, okay. So that means that we're closer to the 300. So we're going to answer that as 300. All right. Over here we've got 85. Rounding to the nearest 100 here. We're 85. We're only 15 away from being at 100. So we're going to round that to 100. Over here, we're 500. So we're either going to round this to 600 or we're going to round it back to 500. Well, it's 545. We're actually closer to 500 than we are to 600. So we're going to round that back to 500. Over here, we are at 200, okay, or 300, all right? We're actually closer going down, so we're going to round back to 200, okay? So round to that nearest 100. Over here, 350. So we've either got to round to 400 or we're going to round to 300. Now, we know that's a 50. So when it's a 50, we actually round up, okay? We actually round up. So we're going to round that to 400. Over here, we've got 834. We're either rounding from 800 or we're rounding to 900. So we're either rounding down to 800 or up to 900. We're actually 834. We're going to round down. So we're going to go 800 there. All right, bubble numbers. Here we go. Which two bubbles round to 700? So which two bubbles would round to 700? So I'm going to get my little highlighter out here. And if I go 700, I'm going to say 748 is going to be rounding me down to 700. The other one, if I'm rounding to 700, remember that when we're at 50, we actually round up. So the one right next to it, 650, is going to round me to 700. Okay, for the next one, we need to, which two bubbles round to 600? Which two bubbles round to 600? Well, here's 635, okay? The 35 tells me that we're closer to 600 than we are to 700, okay? And then the last one to 600 is 572, okay? Like we said before, we're only 28 away from being at 600 anyway, so it's not too far away at all. And then we're going to write true or false for the following statements. So write true or false for statement. 765 will round to 700. That, my friends, is false, okay? If we're at 675, we're going to round to 800, so that one is false. 829 rounds to 800. Well, 829 is pretty close to 800, so we're actually going to round back to 800. So that one is true, okay? And finally, 109 rounds to 100. Well, that is also true. We're only 9 away from being an 800, so we're actually going to round that back, or round that down to 100. Now, write the numbers that round to 400. So we're going to write some numbers here. So look, this is where you'd come up with these yourselves. Round the numbers, right, 4 numbers that round to 500. So let's go 350 is going to round, okay? Let's go 449 is going to round back to 400. We could say, well, 428 is going to round back to 400. And then finally, we could say, well, we could say 372. And that's going to round us up to 400 as well. All right, look, I hope this made sense. Feel free to watch it again. Take care. Thanks, guys.